Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And Rick, it is the CFL playoffs.
East semifinal preview
It's
is
the
what
East
it is.
semifinal preview. Now, I want to put this out there right now. Both semifinal games, we will be live streaming this Saturday. We will be live for both games at 2 o'clock and 5:30 Central Standard Time, as well, and then 3 and 6:30 Eastern, or wherever you are. Those are the times that we're getting started on the streams right at game time. And we're going to be streaming both of them. It's going to be a good time. We unfortunately won't be able to stream any more games in the playoffs, whether that's East Final, West Final, or Grey Cup. Due to
I beg to differ, sir.
With the exception, we won't be able to stream any of those together.
Rick, on
the other hand, will be streaming the West Final on Ticats Talk Network. The link to that channel has been fixed in the description below. It was,
and then I will also. No one tell me what happens. I'm sure I'll find out. But I will be either pre-recording afterwards or live streaming and rewatching the East Final because I will be at work when that's on. So I'm sure I'll have both games.
So there's that stuff on Ticats Network. Now, before we get into it, make sure you guys like the video. And make sure you guys subscribe because we got a lot of good stuff coming around here. And hit the notification bell if you can. It helps out the channel a ton. Seriously, and we got a lot to get through for both of these.
Yes,
and then
sir.
I'm hyped about this.
I think you're more hyped for it.
We will also have the West semifinal coming out the same day as this one. This will be the first one that comes out, but it'll be coming out. We may or may not have someone else on actually with us. It kind of just depends on scheduling.
Also,
and
we have some other videos coming out this week. We have our awards.
We have our awards, which we will be actually recording the day that you're most likely watching this, if you're watching this the day this came out. And then also we will have a video on Randy Ambrosi reaching the end of his tenure as the CFL commissioner and possible replacements, what he accomplished during that tenure, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you guys check that out. Now, before we get into it, if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you guys give us 5 stars as it helps us out a ton. Rick, it is time to get into it.
Yes.
Ottawa versus Toronto. Game is at BMO Field this Saturday, 2 p.m. Central.
The funny thing about this is,
I
was looking on social media today.
Yep.
There was Argo fans mad because the person of TSN gave the Ottawa Red Blacks the extra, how do I want to say this? Like the extra push when it's quarterback versus quarterback. So instead of picking Chad Kelly, they picked Drew Brown.
Ooh. Interesting.
So Ottawa got the quarterback and receivers. Toronto got the running back.
Yeah.
And there wasn't too many people.
Man, Rick, we now, do we want to start with injuries? I think we should start with injuries because I think this is a crucial
I have them up on my screen.
Crucial thing to consider. Normally, we don't always go through injuries, but this playoffs, we are going to go through everything. We're going through the injuries. We're going through the season series. We're going through the historical series, teams' records on the road, when they're at home, all that sort of stuff. We're going to make sure to have all that. And we're going to start, Rick, with our injury report.
So we're going to start with the road team first.
Yep.
So Bennett Williams, defensive back, fully practice.
Yeah, and this for
Justin Howell, defensive back, knee, fully practice. Alonzo Adame, defensive back, knee, limited. Ty Cranston, defensive back, neck, limited. Lucas Cormier, linebacker, hand, limited. Salas Stewart, linebacker, healthy scratch, full. Justin Hardy, wide receiver, ankle, full. Nick Marner, wide receiver, illness, did not practice. Running back, Jamal Morrow, hamstring, full practice. And Marco Dubois, fullback, shoulder, did not practice. Now, if we go over to the Toronto side of things, Dijon Allen, offensive line, arm, full practice. Isaiah Cage, offensive line, hip, full practice. DeMonte Coxey, knee, wide receiver, did not practice. Cameron Dukes, quarterback, hip, limited. John Edward, defensive back, elbow, full practice. Dylan Giffen, offensive line, back, full practice. Janarian Grant, wide receiver, healthy scratch, full practice. Daniel Kouamu, linebacker, knee, full practice. Jonathan Jones, hamstring, linebacker, full practice. Robert Priester, defensive back, shoulder, limited. Richie Sandini, wide receiver, rib, full practice. Robbie Smith, defensive line, personal, full practice. And then Fraser Sopik, linebacker, hand, did not practice.
That is a full list there. Now,
That is a full list.
What would we say? Anything really notable in terms of players that look to be out for this game?
I mean,
a lot of guys that are kind of like announced they're on full practice. Some that are a little limited, but
I mean, the only one that kind of stands out for me, and keep in mind, Tuesday was the first day practice for each team.
Yeah.
So out of the people that I mentioned, maybe Coxey, but then there's also other people on their receiver core that can step up too.
Yep. No, it's true. I mean, look at the way that Polk is set up. This guy kind of came out of nowhere and just started getting 100 receiving yards a night for the last few games.
As far as Ottawa goes, I know Nick Marner will play because it's only an illness. It's probably like a cough or sniffles or whatever you want to call it. That guy's 6'7". That guy will make a name for himself down the road. I'm just trying to think. I don't know Ottawa's defense all that well, so I'm not sure on their defense. But it seems like most players, if they're practicing this week, they'll be playing.
Yeah. No, and realistically, that's going to be the situation for the majority of players that are out. Is that there will be some guys that will be playing that are probably not 100%. That's just the nature of things. This is where the CFL playoffs,
it's like the NHL,
is very comparable. I was going to say to the NHL. In the sense of that players playing injured is somewhat common. In the sense of that, obviously there comes a point where a player literally cannot play. He will not pass medical. But they'll be lenient on some stuff. If they can get away with just wrapping something up with some tape, and then they'll do that. And it really just depends on how much depth they feel they have at that position. Now, Rick.
Yes.
One thing I'm curious about, do we know the record between these two this year? Because I think they played probably...
I was just looking at that.
3 times, I imagine, right? Or I think it's 3 times, right? In your own division?
No.
2 or 3 times?
2.
2 times.
The only times that you play 3 is when Hamilton plays Toronto.
Or, well, no. When Winnipeg played Saskatchewan, 3
you guys
times
play
as well.
3 times.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, so you one opponent in your division you play 3 times.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense.
So, the first time that these two teams played, it was week 14.
Oh, wow. So it was actually quite... So this is back when Chad Kelly was already back.
Yes, this was the game that Ottawa beat Toronto 41-27.
Yep.
Chad Kelly went 36 for 56, 463 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah. And that's where he nearly goes 500. However, if you look at Drew Brown, that game, he wasn't even bad that game. He went 75%, 30 for 40, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and 349 passing yards. And a touchdown as well. So, good game for both quarterbacks. Obviously, Chad Kelly nearly got 500 that game. But Drew Brown was definitely a big player for them in week 14. When they played, and so that was a big win for Ottawa. And if we move later in the season,
week 20,
Toronto then returns the favor with a 38 31 victory over the Red Blacks.
That's when Ottawa almost came back in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they had 25 points. 25 of their 31 points were in the fourth quarter. So this is going to be a tight game. So they're 1-1 against each other. In terms of scoring, overall scoring, the
Ottawa has the better.
Ottawa has
differential.
outscored them as they beat the the Argos by 14 points in their first game, exactly 2 touchdowns. And then in the second time they played, they only lost by 6. So an 8-point difference between the two. But again, Rick, 8 points. That's one score. That's it. So I expect this game to be a 1-score difference and to be very close.
You don't need to tell me. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Just look at our last game.
Now, here's the thing. This is Ottawa's first time in the playoffs in 3 years. Is that right? Because they didn't make it last year. They didn't make it the year before.
Give me 1 second, and I can fact check that.
2022. I'm just trying to remember here. Because 2022, they fell short. Did they make it in 2021?
So
No,
23, they did not make it.
In 2022, they did not. I just checked. 2021, they didn't. 2020, the CFL didn't play. Let's go back to 2019. Oh, boy, they didn't even make it in 2019. Wow, this is the first time in a while, Rick.
They didn't make it in 18 or,
yes,
or 19.
They made it in 18. In 18, they won the East. So this will be Ottawa's first time in the CFL playoffs since 2018. Now, unfortunately for them, they don't get a home playoff game. They kind of had the opportunity to clinch that up, but they just kind of fell apart a little bit. However, this is a very capable Red Blacks team, and there are good things to come. And realistically, I think the Red Blacks are a team that are in the Grey Cup playoffs this year, and I think they will stay there. I don't expect them next year to drop below that playoff line. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Hamilton does not make a bunch of progress and they stay out, or if the Ticats come up and the Argos drop down. I think the Red Blacks will probably be safe in there.
Well, you didn't hear the Ticat news today, so we will leave that for a different story.
But to be fair, you guys had all the talent in the world this year, but if they don't perform, they don't perform.
The interesting thing that I will bring up between these two teams, that I get that this is the East Division, but I'm going to draw the two similarities between the two divisions. So, Saskatchewan finished second in the West. BC finished third, 1 point difference. Toronto finished second. Ottawa finished third, 1 point difference.
Yeah.
And you know what that 1 point was? Those ties.
Yep. Although, to be fair, in Ottawa's instance, it really doesn't matter in the sense of that if that tie was a loss, then they'd then be down by 2 points.
So the difference between the two is...
In Saskatchewan's instance, it matters more because that tie got them that point. You know
No, I'm not talking about that. So both Toronto and Ottawa are both 3-5 in the division. Toronto's 7-2 at home. Ottawa's 2-7 on the road.
So what's Toronto's record at home again? Sorry,
7-2.
Ooh.
And Toronto's 2-7.
Oh, man, I don't know. But here's the thing.
It is going to come down to Toronto's defensive line. I don't have a problem with. The receivers, running back, and Chad Kelly, as much as I want to say this as a Ticat fan, I don't see a problem there. The problem that I do see with Toronto is their secondary. If their secondary cannot get their crap together this game, as you
and they got a lot of capable receivers in Ottawa. Like besides Polk in Toronto, I think some of the guys in Ottawa can actually honestly outperform them in that instance. But like, because they really like, man, This is also very interesting because we also have to remember that this is the instance where, like, I think everyone remembers last year when Toronto Argonauts, after steamrolling the league in the East Final, which they won, they lost 38-17, and Chad Kelly threw, it was at least 4 picks in that game. Let me actually see here. 2023 CFL.
So while you're pulling that up,
Yeah.
so Justin Hardy had 1,343 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. Dominic Rhymes had 1,011 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then you have Jalen Acklin, 739 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then Pimpleton, 715 yards, 3 touchdowns. You go over to Toronto. Polk had 1,024, 5 touchdowns. Coxie had 860 and 4 touchdowns. Devarius Daniel had a down season. He only had 622 yards.
Yeah.
And 2 touchdowns. And then just 1 second. And then David Unger had 425 yards and 1 touchdown. So I mean, you could see the difference. But Chad Kelly also doesn't just pass like 3 or 4 receivers. He like passes the ball around.
Yeah. Now, there's a few things I do want to get into, and one of them is going to be the East Final last year, because this is the last time Toronto was in the playoffs. I want to see if we can actually pull up Ottawa's 2018 box score stats if we can. I'm also just curious for what the roster looks like, as obviously it's going to be
give me 1 second while you do that.
But if we're looking here, 2023 East Final between the Montreal Alouettes and the Toronto Argonauts. Alouettes win that game by a score of 38-17 after Toronto goes on an impressive, I think 16-2 season. And they would go and put up a big fat donut in the first and third quarters last year. They get a field goal in the second, get 14 points in the third quarter, but that game at that point was just a lost cause, and it was just too little too late. So Chad Kelly would get 36 completions on 21 completions on 36 attempts. Would throw for 246 passing yards, an average of 6.8 yards per throw, which is just not great. 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and his longest pass was 54 yards. AJ Ouellette ran for 71, and then in the receiving side of things, just to kind of compare it to now, AJ Ouellette the guy leading was Daniels with 77 yards receiving, and then Phillips and Ouellette and Brissett were kind of their next biggest guys. Neild didn't get anything. He didn't get any. I don't think he got any. He got 1 target, but he didn't get any completions. And then Coxie got 29 yards on his 1 reception. And actually, if we're looking at kickoff returns, people forget that Javon Leake was the returner for the Toronto Argonauts, and for their kickoffs and their punt returns, and it got 57 yards off the kickoffs as well as 42 on their punt returns, and he also returned a missed field goal. They had Haggerty as their punter. Boris Beatty was 2 for 2 that night, and if we look at kind of their defense, some of their guys they were able to keep, some of them they're not. Guys like Oakman gone, but then there were some guys like McManus and Mechie and Williams and Pickett and all that sort of stuff. So a bit of change, but I wouldn't say anything too drastic. But definitely a different roster, but you got the same captain at the helm. And so if you're Toronto, your goal more than anything is do not replicate last year. Because last year was just an absolute disaster for the Toronto Argonauts, where they go on this incredible season, and it ends up being all for nothing. It all fell apart in the East Final. We'll see if that happens this year in the East semis.
Okay, so I also sent you, if you check your Discord inbox, the inbox from 2018. Funny thing note, Bo Levi Mitchell was the MVP of that game. in Calgary for Calgary.
Yep. Well, this is
So
the year that Calgary wins the Grey Cup.
Trevor Harris was the quarterback for Ottawa back in the day.
Oh yeah.
William Powell, former Rider, was the running back. Don Jackson, who last played for the Ticats before retiring, he was the running back for Calgary. Lamar Durant.
Oh my goodness.
Nick Arbuckle, Bakari Grant, Greg Ellingson, former bomber.
Greg Ellingson, former Edmonton Elk /
Ticat.
Former, was he a Ticat as well?
Oh, he was a Ticat.
He's an Alouette. He's a Bomber. He's an Elk. And technically, he played when they were the Eskimos. So he's just been everywhere.
He reminds me of the Mike Sellinger of the NHL, the guy that's played on like 15 teams or something like that.
He's Jagarrett Davis, with the exception of getting to the Grey Cup every year.
Well, yeah. So you have Brad Snopley.
Oh, and then Calgary had friend of Canadian Football Central, Terry Williams, not the BC Lions running back. Not saying we wouldn't be friends with him, but we didn't have him on. We had the other Terry Williams, who won the Grey Cup with Calgary that year, was on. He got the only, I think, return touchdown in Grey Cup history. So, or at least
they had.
He was on that team with Calgary.
Eric Rogers before he went to Toronto.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rico Murray. I remember when he played for Hamilton.
Wait, so hold on a second. Yeah. Well, this is the Grey Cup we're looking at. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just. Do you remember Alex Singleton?
Oh boy, yeah, that's the name.
Yeah, he played for Calgary back in the day. Talk about Trey Allen, Jamar Wall.
Yeah.
Micah Johnson played for Calgary back.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Davis.
It's kind of interesting looking at this and seeing how big the turnaround has been in the CFL.
Calgary had Winton McManus.
Jagarrett Davis was on the Stampeders. Of course he was. Mr. Grey Cup himself.
Jamar Thurman.
Yeah. Kevin Brown was...
Antoine Milanovic Litre.
Kevin Brown was on...
Keontae Evans. Oh my lord!
Yeah,
talk about
Cincinnati, then Ottawa, then he played.
Talk about the team that changed.
Yeah, no. So this is pretty much there's no one from that team in 2018 that is still there in Ottawa. Ottawa's had many changes, including your favorite offensive coordinator to ever grace God's green earth, Mr. Tommy Condell. It's funny, if there's any reason you don't want Ottawa to win the East, it's because of Tommy. Like, you want Ottawa to win this game because as much as you don't like Tommy Condell, you really don't like Toronto and Chad Kelly. I don't know if you would rather see Ottawa, if Ottawa won this game, if you'd rather see them or Montreal. I don't know, honest to God.
I mean, out of those two teams, we have to listen to the stupid horns next week.
Yeah, no, they should not be rewarded for that. But with Ottawa, it's just interesting seeing that it has been 6 years, 5 seasons since the last time the Red Blacks made the CFL playoffs. And the last time they made and it was the Grey Cup. They made it to the Grey Cup finals, and then they couldn't make the playoffs since then. So this is going to be, in my opinion, win, lose, or draw. This is huge for the Red Blacks. They've been out of that postseason for so long, and so the best thing that they can do is try to make this last as long as they can.
Okay, so to go back in history, 14-19, Rick Campbell was the head coach.
Yep.
He had a 44-62-2 record. Under 420. But then he was over 500 in the playoffs, so.
Yeah.
And then Paul LaPolice was from 20-22. He was just 6-22, even worse.
Yep.
And then Bob Dice is 5-17 in 22 games between 22 and now. So they really haven't had Like, even if you go back to like the Renegade days in 2002, Joe Papo, he was their head coach, and he had a 23-49 record.
Yeah.
Like, the only time that they had really any good like football team was those 7 games that Rick Campbell got them to the Grey Cup in 2015. When Henry Burris was their head coach or their quarterback. Wow, he's 70 years old. Dang. Oh, he played in the original XFL. Team Extreme.
Wait. Which team was he on?
He was the offensive coordinator for San Francisco.
The San Francisco Demons. The Extreme Football League. He played for the San Francisco Demons. The team that got bitch smacked by the LA Extreme in this year's 23 years ago $1 million game.
Go figures. So then after he left the Renegades, back in 2006, he was our offensive coordinator. We only scored 292 points and we had a 4-14 record. So he's almost as bad as Tommy Condell.
So,
but
we got a lot going. Is there anything we haven't covered? We've covered a decent amount. Do we have any historical records in the playoffs between these two teams? It probably wouldn't be too long because Ottawa's so new. You know what I mean? They may not have faced in the playoffs. At least the Red Blacks.
Okay, so it would have to be. Okay, Toronto missed in 18.
Let's see.
17 it was.
Did they play against each other?
No, so 17 Saskatchewan got the crossover. That was the year that Toronto won the Grey Cup. 16.
I think Ottawa wins the Grey Cup.
Toronto, Ottawa wins that, but Toronto missed the playoffs.
I can't find the 2016 bracket.
No, 15, we beat Toronto in the playoffs. And 14...
Well, they existed.
Ottawa and Toronto missed the playoffs. So they haven't played in the playoffs yet since Red Blacks' existence.
Hold on a second. Let me see here. So what year did the Red Blacks come into the league? Because I think I misinterpreted.
Red Blacks came into the league in... I'm trying to
remember the exact year. I thought it was 2016 or something.
No, I think it was 14.
It was 14. Okay. Why is my internet not working? No.
Yeah, they were founded in 14.
And they won in
15.
Okay.
I think. Let me just double check this. Nope. They didn't win. They won in 16 when Henry Burris was their quarterback.
Then that's what it was. They won in 16. They didn't start in 16. It started at 14, won in 16. That's what.
Yes.
Was key. Although I can't find a picture of the 2016 bracket anywhere for some reason.
Oh, here. I just go up to the top and switch to different years, and then that has the playoff bracket.
Okay.
That was the year that you guys lost to BC by 1 point in the playoffs.
Lovely. Yeah, that's great.
And then Calgary came and beat BC 42-15.
Awesome.
And then Ottawa won in overtime to win the Grey Cup.
Yeah. I'm just looking here. Yeah, shoot. And then Edmonton plays Ottawa. And then Ottawa beats Calgary. It's funny seeing all the names that are all over the place in their top performers of the week. And all these names I see, Justin Medlock all over the place, Zach Calero's in there, Mike Riley, Levi Mitchell, Taylor Loeffler, Emmanuel Arsenault, James Franklin, Kevin Glenn, Jeremiah Johnson, Larry Dean, Dion Lacey, Rene Paredes. Man, it's funny. Some of these, like, and then of course Andrew Harris. It's just kind of funny just seeing all these names next to each other. It's one of those things.
Who would have thought Brett
that
Maher
was
was our
when
punter back
Adam
in the day?
Bighill was still in the Lions.
We had Brett Maher as our freaking punter.
Well, let's try to stay relevant with this. But do we actually? What's the all-time record between Red Blacks Toronto just head to head?
Give me 1 second here.
Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. The Red Blacks Argos rivalry has been played 25 times, with the Ottawa Red Blacks winning 6 and the Argos winning 19.
But keep in mind, they also have a different quarterback.
I know they're 1-1 realistically with this core.
Yes.
So there's that. Oh no, Rick has disappeared. I don't know what happened. I'm sending them the link now. I'm not even gonna clip this. We're gonna keep rolling. Here we go. Is he back? I think he is. Oh, there we go. Rick, you're now back.
Yes. I know. I'm looking at the screen and you disappeared. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I know it crashed, so I just sent you the thing. I didn't even stop recording. We're still recording. This is great.
Oh, nice. Got to go with the original old school.
Oh yeah, no, we don't cut it out. We leave all the nonsense in there for you people.
So with that being said, anything else that you want to bring up?
I don't know, man. It's just
or should we go straight to predictions?
Rick, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Do you know why? Because these are the actual games that matter.
Oh, absolutely.
And
there were a lot of games that were fun. There were some games that mattered in terms of bragging rights. But in terms of going for that Grey Cup, which is the ultimate goal, this is it. It's CFL playoffs.
If you are going to get on a hot streak,
oh, now it's
my lord, this is going to be the time that you do it. And then, in 2 weeks' time, we got to listen to the stupid Jonas Brothers.
I don't know what you're talking about. We don't need to listen to them. We can. The mute button still exists.
True.
On television.
But you'll be at a family gathering, and I'll be sitting at home watching the game. Who knows what my plans are? Maybe I might stream it. We'll see.
Rick, who do you got in this one?
You know what? This is harder for me to pick in this one than it is the West. Because
I don't find either of these easy.
Because in the East, you have two good quarterbacks in Drew Brown and
I don't know what you're talking about. Vernon Adams Jr. starting, so we do have two good quarterbacks in the West.
No. But I'm saying but depending on what team you get at BC, BC could beat Saskatchewan. Whereas, but
Saskatchewan's been they've been getting their mojo back, Rick.
But if you look at this series, each team has won. Ottawa's beaten Toronto by 2 touchdowns, whereas Toronto only beat Toronto by 1. And there's 7-point difference between these two teams. It
is very close.
Can't be any closer than what it is.
It's or I think it's an 8-point difference, but it's one score. It's one score difference. Oh, and I don't know. I honestly mentally I flip-flop between these two teams in my mind while we're recording.
You know what's even worse?
What?
Is Ticats have had a goal line stance against each of these teams. So you can tell that the defense for both teams is set.
Yeah.
Like, there's no. Yes, there's 2 more
That
practices,
Argos
but
defensive line looks friggin' lethal. Seriously, it is. That defensive line is dangerous.
that's what I mean. Even if Drew Brown gets on his game, Toronto could be up.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think that will make a difference,
The Toronto secondary.
no, not even CFL
Does
players.
Chad Kelly throw 4 picks again?
I'm not even talking about CFL players. The only thing that's going to make a difference in this game, because I've seen how much the PRs have been going at this, is if the ticket staff in Toronto can pack that place, that is going to be the factor in this game between Toronto and Ottawa. Is going to be those fans in Toronto. Are they going to get many fans to come out to Saturday's game? Who knows? But I mean, if Toronto gets eliminated, I think that this will be a bust for Toronto this year. It's Grey Cup or bust for Toronto.
It's a Grey Cup or bust for everyone, but with Ottawa,
Sure.
They don't have as much to lose in the sense of making the playoffs itself was a bigger goal. With Toronto, making the playoffs isn't enough for them. Getting at least 1 win in the playoffs.
Oh, I know what I wanted to look up before.
Is key. Just not losing the way they lost last year.
I want to see if this guy's still on their roster. That's why I wanted to pull up their roster for a second. Because would it not be funny? Oh, he is there. Would it not be funny if... But who did he come out for, though, is the question. I kid you not. I would take Andre Miller out of Ottawa's lineup. I would take Rashid Bailey off of the practice roster, put him into Ottawa's lineup. You would then have Ackland, Addison,
I forgot they signed
Marner,
Rashid Bailey.
Pimpleton, Rhymes, and Bailey.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Man, that line, that
well, and
group?
here's the other thing. You want a proven playoff performer. Whoo! Rashid Bailey is absolutely a proven playoff performer. He was excellent in the playoffs for Winnipeg, even in the years they weren't able to win. He was a constant on that in that receiving core, and he played well with Drew Brown when they were both in Winnipeg last year. I thought that their chemistry was solid. So I think Rashid Bailey would be a great choice to bring into the lineup, but I'm not sure if they'll do that.
Well, I just.
Oh, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Very good idea, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll do it.
Who knows? But I will say.
I don't know.
As much as Argo fans are going to make fun of me for this, my heart is going to go with Ottawa. But again, it's going to come down to Toronto's secondary. If Toronto's secondary plays like they have been in their last couple of games, they're not going to win this week.
I, through the course of this video, have mentally flip-flopped at least 7 to 8 times between these two different teams. I don't know. It is that close.
Hey, it's almost like the Ottawa Hamilton game last week.
The thing is that I know who I'll be cheering for this week in this game. And it's one of those things where, you know what time it is, Rick?
It's the Drew Brown
It's the Drew Brown train, baby! It's the Drew Brown train, baby! I'm going with the Red Blacks. I'm going bold. I'm saying they come back to the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. And the Toronto Argonauts, 2 straight years of Chad Kelly disappointments. Well, all the Argos can hope for is that before the start of next year, that Chad Kelly doesn't have another scandal. Aha!
I wasn't even
but still,
I wasn't even gonna go there,
Oh,
what
I
I
did.
was gonna say was, could you imagine Ottawa
It's just a joke.
beats
Calm down.
Toronto with how bad Montreal has played their last two games?
Yeah.
Ottawa comes and beats Montreal and goes to the Grey Cup.
That'd be crazy.
Because if you think about it, so this goes back to week 16. Montreal beat Ottawa 24-12. Montreal lost to Toronto 37-31, and Ottawa lost to Saskatchewan 29-16.
Yeah.
Week 18, both teams were on a bye. Week 19, Montreal only beat Toronto by 7. Week 20, Ottawa only lost to Toronto by 7. BC beat Montreal 27-3. And then last week, Montreal lost by 1, and Ottawa beat Hamilton. So I mean, Ottawa can beat Montreal if they put full.
So we're both going with Ottawa, despite us not having the full confidence in either of these teams. And it's more of, I think realistically, I want Ottawa to win. And so and it's that close where I'm able to do that. But I could totally see Toronto winning this game. As you'd think that they got more in that lineup. And that defensive line could be seriously the game changer. But if that Toronto secondary is not able to perform their job, then who knows? We might be seeing the
Because I'm not saying like their defensive line's still good. Their linebackers are still good. Yeah. It's just
defensive backs.
Yes.
Corners. All that sort of stuff, yeah.
And I mean, when you give up 31 points to Ottawa, 31 points to Edmonton, even though people say they didn't play their starters, and then you give up 31 to Montreal on the 28th, that's almost 31 points a game in 3 out of your last 4 games.
Yeah.
And then the week before on the 20th, you give up 33 points to Hamilton. So their last 5 games, they only had 1 game where they did not give up less than 20 points.
Yep. Rick,
but
is that all we got?
That's all we have. And I'm inching for Saturday to come.
Oh yeah.
I just want Saturday to be here.
Same here. I am
as long as these games.
Rick, do you know how crazy my Saturday is?
Yes, you told me yesterday.
Yeah, I will be streaming WWE Crown Jewel starting at noon. And then pretty much that will go right until
3 o'clock.
About the East final starts, in which I'll basically, even if I got to end Crown Jewel early, I'll end it early for the East semifinal. And so we'll then switch over to the CFL game. You guys can check us out there. So that first stream will be on, if you guys are into wrestling, on Nolan Hockey Podcast.
And I will have to stop by because I'm off on Saturday.
There we go. And then both the East and West final will be streamed here on Canadian Football Central. So I think that's all we got.
So
we went 44 minutes, Rick.
And it's well damn deserved.
I know at least one guy who's gonna love that. He may not like how much I was chirping his team a little bit, but hey,
no comment.
Hey, I'll chirp the Red Blacks too. The Red Blacks haven't been to the CFL playoffs in 6 years, in a 9-team league. All right, there we go. See, I can chirp both teams here. So, all things considered, Rick. I'm excited for this one. All you wonderful people at home, let us know what you guys think of this game in the comment section down below, your predictions for this game. And then also to check out our Western semifinal preview, which will be coming out later today as of when this video is being uploaded, as well as future videos, which probably the next day after this one goes up, we'll have a video out on the CFL, the East and West nominations, team nominations, all that sort of stuff for all the CFL awards. And then at some point, we will have a video about Randy Ambrosie's tenure coming to an end, coming out on the channel as well, and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, the reviews after the first 2 games of the playoffs have happened. So without further ado, peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and we will see you guys next time.
Next time.